Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Cape Rugby TV. Of course, this is the show that takes a look weekly at what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Big thanks of course to our partners on board with us here at Cape Rugby TV. Score Energy Drinks, as you know, of course on board with Western Province Rugby and the Western Province Club Rugby 7s. You can see the logo behind me. You're going to need that logo later for the Score Triple Hamper competition. MChem 24-hour pharmacy. You can see them behind me now as well. Isn't that fantastic? MChem 24-hour pharmacy on the corner of Durban Road and the N1. And of course, look out for their public review a little bit later. And of course, Thorburn Security Solutions. They are your one-stop sporting events security solutions. Folks, we have got a fantastic show lined up for you this evening. We'll be catching up with Untitled Chapter. He is, of course, the chairperson of Goodwood Rugby Football Club. The guys managed to get back to training yesterday. Ruan Vermaak is the assistant coach at Kraaifontein, and they of course also resumed training yesterday. Koos Ekstein tells us a little bit more about what's happening at Halderberg Rugby Football Club. Stephen Feltman is the second team coach at Belleville Rugby Club, and they of course started training last week. And then we will wrap it up with Faisal Felton from Western Province Rugby, who's going to tell us a little bit more about how these clubs all in fact managed to resume training. As you know, nobody's back on the park without following strict COVID regulations, but the good news is that the players are training and the clubs are training. That announcement has been now formalized by SA Rugby, and that's what we've been waiting for. But as I say, all happening to very, very strict regulations. But don't forget then, during the course of the show, as you can see behind me, that's the logo that you need. You need that name to win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks. Combine that with a case of Bashu's Cool Drinks and a set of Cape Rugby TV masks, courtesy of CTC Sports. Later in the show, I'm going to give you the short code, the number that you're going to need to SMS the word SCORE to. So keep your mobile phones handy. On the line with me now is, of course, Untitled Chapter. He is the chairperson of Goodwood Rugby Football Club. Untitled, great to see you again. It's been a bit of time, but we've got you back on the show. How are things with you?
No, all good. Thanks, JP. Good to be back. Good talking to you.
Untitled, well, you probably heard my introduction there about the return to training. It's been quite a process over the last year, but finally, looks like the guys, or at least some of the guys, can put the boots back on again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the guys were all keen. I think the spirits was high over the past couple of weeks. And to get onto the park, yes, last night was quite an experience and everybody was quite excited.
Just tell us a little bit about the build-up to that. I mean, it's been a year, of course, of no activity. Membership itself might have been something that you guys have been having to look at. Are all the players still coming back? Are you able to reach out to them? How did that go?
Yeah, obviously it's been a quiet year, but I mean we've been quite active on social media and on the WhatsApp groups between the players. We've managed to keep some of the players. We've also recruited quite a few new players that also pitched last night. But yeah, we're not at the peak at the moment. We haven't got everybody there. I think it will gradually grow over the next couple of weeks. So let's hope for the best. But yeah, a couple of new faces, which is also exciting.
Why do you think that is? I mean, where did the new players come from?
Well, yeah, I don't want to.
Okay, you don't have to throw.
But yeah, no, we've obviously got a new and young and exciting coaching staff with some followers.
Right. Okay.
And obviously they've recruited some players. So that's been the main source of the new faces is the new coaching staff, and it's looking good. We're very excited, and these guys have got a lot of plans. So yeah, let's see what the future holds.
So from a training perspective, of course, at the moment it is difficult. You're only allowed, I think, limited numbers. Everybody has to still be training in isolation. Am I summing it up more or less right?
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. We currently we're trying to limit our groups to 50. Last night we've managed to have about 35 players on the park. Obviously everybody needs to comply fully with all the protocol screening when they arrive at the grounds. We try to keep them spaced out during practice. It's not always possible, but we're trying our best. And then obviously the return to play registration that's got to be happening with all the players as well. So it was quite an admin exercise before the guys could get onto the field, but that's all done and dusted. And the practice went well. I think we're really keeping to protocols, and it's looking good.
So 4 weeks of conditioning, and then apparently 4 weeks of return to training protocols. Is your management team now sort of have they had to rethink the training? I mean, I think, you know, previously one would be thinking about friendlies and warm-up games and practices, and of course all of that is not on the table at the moment. It really is about kind of keeping the guys happy in the evening. How many times a week at the moment, Eitner?
Well, first of all, yeah, our training programs have changed quite a bit. We need to adapt to the circumstances. So the first 4 weeks it's purely fitness, no contact at all. We're starting off now 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll keep that going for the first 4 weeks, and then after that we'll move on to the second 4 weeks of where we can have limited contact, and we'll increase that to three days a week now. We're keeping it at 2 days a week because we want to slot in some CrossFit off the park work as well.
Yeah.
So we don't want to occupy the guys too much so early in the season.
Now I know that the title is over your name, over your shirt there, but I can in fact see your Goodwood Old Boys shirt. So there folks can proudly see it, Goodwood Old Boys Rugby. That looks like a new design to me, Eitner.
No, it's actually our nationals design from 2 years ago, but new kit though. And,
okay.
Yeah, the old boys are running the show now, so we need to pull up our socks. We had quite an involvement of the squad there last night as well, giving advice and helping out. So yeah, definitely some great expertise coming to the players from the older guys.
Well, I was just thinking about that, you know, and if I go back to our conversations of last year of where you said you're looking at building the old boy structure, bringing the people back, and you say that it was training session, and the old boys were not only just popping in at the club, they were actually coming hands-on, getting involved and coming to watch. It's so exciting.
Well, we actually had a couple of guys that had a run or two with the squad, so that was good to see. They didn't manage the full practice session, but at least they tried a couple of sprints.
That's fantastic stuff. So is that part of the plans going forward? And we know that restrictions at venues are a little bit more flexible now. The curfew, the hours are a little bit later. Are you able to engage? Of course, we know that the regulations are still very strict, and that the social distancing and all the health and safety protocols have to be in place. But are you able to bring the old boys into the club structure a little bit?
Definitely. That's been the plan from the start. We'll definitely involve the guys as much as we possibly can within the regulations. But yeah, our management structure as such, you know, is 90% old boys. Yeah, they will all be involved. They're allowed to be involved within the regulations. And as soon as we've got some relaxation on the regulations, we'll get more of the guys involved.
I think that's fantastic stuff. We look forward to following the progress. Lots of photographs, lots of videos. We're absolutely thrilled. You're our first team that we've managed to speak to that is actually telling us about players that are getting boots on again.
That's awesome. Would like to speak to you again.
There we go, folks. Eitner Tutter, the chairperson of Goodwood Rugby Football Club. And isn't that great news? The players are back at training. Of course, we know very strict regulations, social distancing, hand washing, sanitizing, screening, a number of different protocols there to make sure that the health and safety protocols are in place. But great to know that players are able to see each other again and get on the park. Welcome back, folks. Nice to have you along. It's, of course, Cape Rugby TV time, where we talk about what's happening in the world of club rugby. And as you know, it's a whole different, or let's just say it's a breath of fresh air blowing at the moment. Clubs allowed to train Of course, that's according to the regulations that SA Rugby have put out, as well as Western Province Rugby, very strict guidelines where clubs have had to follow a process to go and get certified. And of course, a lot of clubs are busy doing that at the moment, still going through the certification process. But one of the clubs that was ahead of the game, Belleville Rugby Football Club, and we've had Belleville on the show a few times last year, of course, during these difficult circumstances. And joining me on the line now is their second team assistant coach, who's been hands-on as well, Stephen Feltman. Stephen, nice to have you on the show. How are things with you?
Thank you, JP. I'm all right, fine. Just following the protocols, you know.
So, Stephen, I mean, it's great to have you on the show, firstly. So, welcome to Cape Rugby TV. It's our first time, I think, that we've had you on the online space. Give us a bit of a catch-up. I mean, we know Belleville have been very busy behind the scenes. You guys have been busy with your Facebook. You've been busy with your social media. We see the photographs that your club is putting out with birthday messages and keeping the guys connected, which has been fantastic. But the big thing that you guys have obviously been waiting for is the ability to get back to training. Now, you started this next week or last week already. How has it been for Belleville?
JP, om die waarheid te sê, het was baie lieflik om weer op die veld te wees. Die rede was ons 'n breath of fresh air. Die manne kon weer 'n bietjie gehardloop het en dit, maar alles voor dit moet ons eers net, het ons alles eers ons regulasies reg gekry. Waar ons die manne gescan het en die questionnaire wat hulle moet ingevul het. Dat is 'n papierwerk wat baie belangrik is, want ons wil nie met 'n situasie sit waar die hele klub weer moet gaan isolate as gevolg van 2-3 mense. Sien dat baie van ons maar van different agtergronde afkom, ons beweeg in different spasies gedurende die week en ook naweke, ja. Maar dit was 'n breath of fresh air en die manne kyk vorentoe na die seisoen.
En ja. Stephen, hoe lyk die spelers? Ek meen, is nou 'n lang tyd dat hulle nie op die park was nie. Dis 'n lang tyd dat hulle nie die boots aangesit het nie. En ek meen, is nou al 'n paar dae wat julle 'n kans gehad het om die spelers se fiksheid bietjie te check. Hoe lyk die spelers?
Verlede jaar, JP, het ons, ek dink dit was met level 1, het ons so 'n bietjie geoefen, het ons 'n pre-season gehad. En ons het net so die eerste week van Desember het ons opgehou, ja. Van die spelers lyk goed, want wat hulle gedoen het, hulle het in groepies vergader, waar hulle self Saterdag en Sondagoggend het hulle gaan hike en self gedraf, en dan het jy die ander groepe wat nou weer gegym het. So van die ouens lyk goed, en toe ons begin het ons sommer erg afgeskop, ja. Van die manne het begin te kort en so, maar ek dink veral as die ys gebreek is, sodra mense die ys breek, dan is die res history, because dan hang dit net van jouself af. Maar die ouetjies lyk goed en hulle sien uit na die season.
Dis natuurlik 'n bietjie van 'n ander tipe oefening nou. Ek meen, die mens kan nie die bal rondgooi nie, jy kan nie tackles en scrums doen nie, die ouens moet nou oefen in geïsoleerde maniere. Is dit nou natuurlik ietsie wat hulle moet aanpas?
Ja, ek dink dis 'n baie moeilike ene, want selfs ons daar word nie touch gespeel nie, punt nommer 1 as gevolg van die COVID. Maar wat ons doen, ons het stasies wat ons opsit. So ons begin by een stasie en so werk ons om al in die rondte tot ons by die ander stasie kom. En obviously dan in jou groepe in van 5, 6, 7, 8 met die 1.5-2 meter space wat ons hanteer.
Ja.
Mens kan sien die ouens verstaan dit nie. Is moeilik, maar soos ek sê, die regulasies maak dit vir ons ook moeilik, maar ons moet dit dan af. Want as ons kyk ewen op die internasionale vlak, dat once 2 of 3 players miskien COVID positief is, dan word alles gesit dan, en dit is iets wat ons net bietjie wil keer. Ons verduidelik aan die ouens verstaan dit, en ek dink na verlede week, na gisteraan, as hulle nou meer geskool, Maar soos sê die
Ja.
kommunikasie gaan word elke keer gerekord en vir hulle gesê.
En die gees, hoe is dit nou met die gees? Ek meen die spelers, ek meen as ons praat van Belleville spelers, die gees is altyd groot as ons kyk na party van die games wat ons daar gesien het. Ek meen die fans is so lief vir rugby en die spelers is so lief vir rugby. Ek meen die gees is hoe is die gees? Ek meen die feit dat die ouens nou vir mekaar kan sien vir die eerste, alhoewel jy sê die ouens het al 'n paar keer hulle social dinge gedoen, maar die feit dat hulle op die veld is, die feit dat hulle bietjie vir mekaar weer kan sien in die Belleville jersey en die boots kan aansit. Hoe is die gees met die spelers?
JP, om die waarheid te sê, jy weet, jy het niks nodig om Belleville te bring nie. Daar's altyd gees.
Ja.
Die manne het in mekaar geklim. Bietjie gespot, was bly om mekaar te sien. Ek kan dit sien, bietjie van verlede jaar. Kyk, ons het net 6 games gespeel verlede jaar. Ek dink dit was 6 friendlies, as ek het verkeerd nie.
Ja.
En 'n bietjie van die ou goed opgebring. Wat vir my eintlik uitgestaan het, is die feit dat jy die honger in die ouens se oë kan gesien het en dat hulle wil oefen. En almal was dan, daai eagerness was daarso.
Ja.
So die gees is reg. Almal sien maar uit na 'n season. Ons as coaches probeer maar om hulle op elke manier positief te hou, want ek dink dit is die swaarste ding wat ons wat die moeilikste basically wat ons kan doen, is om hulle positief te hou.
Steven, dis fantasties. Ons is so baie bly om te hoor die boys is happy, dat hulle glimlag met mekaar, hulle maak weer jokes en spot met mekaar. Ek meen dis wat rugby, that's what rugby is all about. Dis eintlik fantastic en ons sê vir jou, luister, dankie dat jy met ons gesels het. Ons kan nie wag om meer te hoor nie en hoe dit gaan met die spanne. En natuurlik sê ons vir al die mense wat daar buite is wat op die oomblik watch, dat hulle as hulle by Belleville wil rugby speel, al wat hulle hoef te doen is na die Belleville Facebook page te gaan en sign up.
Ja, kyk, baie van die players kom, dis ex-players, nuwe players wat kom. Hulle is baie meer geïnteresseerd oor die gees. Maar elke speler is welkom om te kom. Ons het net een ding wat uitsek is dat you must be competitive. That's it. As al. Ons kyk nie beyond dit nie.
Ja.
En most important thing is jy moet dit kom geniet.
Steven, ons los ons daarso en ons sê vir jou baie dankie dat jy vir ons gejoin het. Stuur asseblief ons beste vir die spelers. Sê vir hulle moet veilig bly.
Ek maak so, JP, baie dankie en lekker dag vir julle.
Thanks, Stephen. Stephen Feltman, of course, second team coach at Belleville Rugby Football Club, and it's great to see the guys back on the park there. Of course, Stephen involved there with the coaching structures, and Belleville's been active for well, they got back on the park last week. But very happy to see that the players are there and that the gees is good, as he says, the Belleville gees. Right, folks, as you know, of course, Score Energy Drinks is on board with Western Province Rugby and the Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. Now, if you want to win yourself a case of Score, we're running this triple up competition at the moment where you can win a case of Score Energy Drinks, you can win a case of Bashu's Cool Drinks, and on top of that, you can win a set of 24 masks, courtesy of CTC Sports, Cape Rugby TV masks, courtesy of CTC Sports. All right, so it's 24 energy drinks, Score energy drinks, 24 Bashes cool drinks, and of course 24 masks. So a triple up hamper available at the moment. There you can see the Score behind me now, the logo. You need to SMS that word Score to 33090. Just SMS the word Score to 33090, and you put yourself in the mix to win this triple hamper. Congratulations to John Peters. John, somebody from Cape Rugby TV is going to be getting in touch with you soon so that you can collect your prize here in, of course you have to collect your prize here in Cape Town at the Cape Rugby TV offices. But John, congratulations. Somebody is going to be getting in touch with you soon. Folks, we'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we carry on talking about what's happening in the world of club rugby. The guys are very excited at the moment as they slowly get back onto the park. Of course, according to those health and safety guidelines. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Right, so we are back. let's say we are back at training. Isn't that so exciting? We are certainly having a different type of conversation at the moment compared to what we've had for the last year. The last year was all about clubs staying active behind the scenes, a lot of reaching out to their members, keeping them engaged, keeping them connected, using social media and every possible opportunity to make sure that the members stay there so that when training does come back and matches come back, that they're able to call on their players, on their database to get them back to session. And well, we've already spoken to Goodwood about the getting back into action, and now we're going to speak to Kraaifontein, because yesterday Kraaifontein Rugby Football Club also went back to training. And to tell me a little bit more about that is the assistant coach for Goodwood Rugby Football Club, Ruan Vermaak. Ruan, welcome to Cape Rugby TV.
Hi, thanks JP, good to be here.
Ruan, I just want to check, your scrum half days at Western Province, is that now over?
Scrum half days, no, definitely not that. Yeah, I'll make for a pretty tall scrum half.
But first time for us to have you on the show, how I found out that you guys were back. I mean, of course, Western Province have told us which clubs are busy training and which have gone through the process of applying for the COVID clearance certificate, so to speak, that the clubs are about. But I saw the post on Facebook, because I saw a post on Facebook that said, "Good news, we're back." Am I right? Yeah. Was last night your first training session?
Yes. So we actually last year, at the end of the last year, we already worked very hard to get all of our COVID regulation stuff in place. So our committee really did the stuff there. We submitted to Western Province, and we've got a plan ready to go. We tried to motivate the guys to maybe add 2 sessions at the end of last year. It didn't go too good, but yes, we started yesterday, and we can see a lot of the people are hungry. We got good now field, so yeah, very happy to be back and feel some grass under the feet.
Well, I suppose that's what I mean, we were not there, and we would love to have been there, but it must have been thrilling for the players. Just to even drive into the parking lot must have been exciting.
Yes, no, definitely. You can see everybody's excited to be back. Obviously, a little bit of a different setup when you get there. There's a sign-up process you go, and a sign-in process where we first scan you. You need to have a mask on at all times, and then once you're cleared and ready to go and on the gate, then the mask can come off, and that's where we have our controlled practice environment.
And then, of course, players are on the field, still in isolation. There's no contact. Am I right? There's nothing touching each. There's complete distancing.
Yes. So what we try to do is we try to build different stations, keeping the groups that needs to be together a little bit smaller. And then for now, we're only focusing on strength, conditioning, and getting that stamina back. And maybe putting down a few of that lockdown kilos that was picked up.
Well, you're the assistant coach at Kraaifontein. I mean, obviously you guys are training and thinking about it, and we've been under this sort of system for the last, we're always thinking as if it's going to happen one day, as if there is a game coming up, as if there's a practice session coming up. It's not just a casual scenario. And as the assistant coach, is that something that's concerning you now, that if you look at it, you do have a year of catch up to do, a year of conditioning that you have to squeeze into 4 weeks?
Yes, definitely. And that is very, and the other thing as well, like, we're not sure when we can get any friendlies going, and if there is gonna be any friendlies. So your preparation is very limited as to what you can do. But those are the cards that are dealt to us. The same has been dealt to every single club. So it's going to be a very unique year of club rugby, if it is going to happen, which it does sound very positive. But when it does happen, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So happy and looking forward to it.
So give us a little bit of input then. How did it go last night from a player's perspective? I mean, when you were looking at the players, was there much sort of, let's say, adjustment and confusion? Because, like you say, the whole process is different. You've got to sign papers, you've got to put a mask on, put a mask off, you've got separate stations. I mean, the environment is completely different. How did the players react to it?
Yeah, so we know the environment's going to be different, and so what we try to do is we focused a lot of our session to just explaining about the different procedures, so it's not it's a familiar thing when it does happen. So we had a longer, let's say, call it welcoming and admin session to explain all the different systems, what we need to adhere to. The training session itself was a little bit shorter. We only actually had a road session yesterday to just see what are we working with, how bad or how good is it. So we just got a mark to see where we are, and now we can work out a program to build from here. So, but very, very excited faces, especially the young guys. We've got a lot more young guys that are hungry for rugby to get back on the field.
Ron, of course, one of the things that normally would have happened about this time of year is clubs would have been recruiting quite a lot. A lot of players maybe would have come from schools and join a club in their area. Of course, last year has basically, you've lost a year. You've lost a year of call it that natural flow from where the proximity schools have just finished schools and they want to join a club. How's the membership looking? Has that been an impact? I mean, have you thought about that?
Yeah, so that's definitely had an impact. We had good numbers yesterday. We had a 40 plus numbers, which is very great. We did lack a little bit of senior players attending, and that's where the recruiting and stuff comes from that you've mentioned. So it has been hard, and I do think it's going to take a while for a lot of the clubs to get back on a level where they're happy with the players they've got and with the numbers. And I think like 3 years ago when we had the drought, there was some adjustments made from Western Province Rugby as well with attendance and stuff from certain players. So I think Western Province might look into doing the same thing again this year, because I really do think some clubs will struggle to fill 3 teams and field the under-20 team.
Well, we'll wait and see what comes out of that. But the flip side is that if everything goes well, maybe so excited that you have too many players. Well, although we can never say we've got. Wouldn't that be great? Ruan, next steps for you guys now. I'm assuming you've immediately given the guys the days that they're training and what their schedule is.
Yeah, so currently we're only training twice a week. Like we said, we briefed a lot of them yesterday. We're trying to get a fire lighted among the oaks to obviously spread the word and let anyone know, listen, Kraaifontein is back. Come to the field. There's a lack of art. Be positive. We're focusing mostly on lifting the guys' spirit and getting the conditional levels back up there. And while we're working on that, we'll wait to hear from Western Province when the next phases do open, where we can work on our structural plan and stuff that we want to achieve.
Ron, I think we'll leave it at that. Super excited to hear that you guys are back. Super excited to hear that your players are able to put their boots on, they get to practice, and we can't wait to see what comes next. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about all the derbies and so on, but we know that that's not on the cards just yet. But we're looking forward to our next conversation being with Kraaifontein about what you guys see as your big derby. So you don't have to let that out just yet, but that is definitely something coming up soon. We're looking forward to that conversation. Ron, thanks for joining us, and we of course say to you guys, stay safe out there, and we hope to catch up soon.
Thanks, JP. It's been a pleasure.
There we go, folks. We're on from Marcus, of course, the assistant coach at Kraaifontein Rugby Football Club. There we go, folks. Another club back to training. A year ago, all in the dark. Now, finally, we're there, where there's a slow return to play. And I remind you, of course, if you are watching right now, that it is under very strict circumstances. There are very controlled guidelines in place, and no player or no club is training at the moment without these specific regulations in place. We'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we carry on talking about club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, everybody. It's Cape Rugby TV, and of course, we carry on talking about what's happening on the world of club rugby. Big moments for clubs out there at the moment, as they have many of the clubs started to slowly return to play according to the health and safety protocols that have been announced by SA Rugby, and of course, according to the regulations that Western Province Rugby have issued. I will keep repeating this during the course of the show and the weeks to follow, that no training sessions are happening out there without following very strict health and safety protocols. One of the clubs that has returned to training is, of course, Halderberg Rugby Football Club. And joining me now is the head coach of Halderberg Rugby Club, Chris Extian. Chris, great to have you on the show.
Ja, hallo JP, lekker om van julle weer te hoor, na 'n lang tydperk, maar het is lekker om weer terug te kan wees.
Chris, so yeah, we haven't spoken to you for a while now, but having, even though we haven't spoken to you, we see that over the last year, you guys have at least made quite an effort on the social media platforms to stay in contact with the players and the members of Halderberg Rugby Football Club.
Ja, ons het nogal verlede jaar nogal lekker goedjies gedoen. Ons het Halderberg Ryder Cup ontwikkel, waar ons spelers bietjie golf speel, waar die Europe against USA golf speel, waar ons net klaplede mag deelneem, en dit was groot sukses gewees, goeie geld ingesamel vir die jaar daarna, en lekker gees gewees, en meer familie veroorsaak in die klub, verseker.
De golf was natuurlijk een van die sporte wat vroeg, hulle kon terug op die baan kom redelijk vroeg met die riglyne wat golf Suid-Afrika uitgesit het. Maar is daar baie rugby spelers wat golf speel?
Ja, nogal, regtig. Daar's 'n paar ouens wat die bal kan verslaan, en 'n paar ouens wat net die voor kan slaan, maar dit was lekker fun geweest. En wat nogal great was, party van die ouens was sommer net carries geweest en wil net die dag saam met ons geniet het, en dit was ongelooflik geweest.
Vertel ons bietjie van die klub self. Ek meen, ons sien baie dinge op Facebook waar julle aankondigings maak van wat die klub gaan doen, miskien van die perseel self, maar wat van die spelers? Nou, ons glo dat julle ouens nou terug op die veld is.
Ja, ons is weer terug op die veld. Ons het gisteraand begin, en dit was nogal 'n lekker goeie opdaging geweest van 'n klomp spelers, as gevolg van die COVID-19 regulasies het ons ook so geoefen. En ek moet sê, ons klub gaan van krag tot krag verseker, met die aantal hoeveelheid spelers wat wil deel raak van die klub, en dan ook borge wat wil deel raak van die klub. En dis 'n goeie ding wat stadig moet seker gebeur in die Halberg kom.
Is jy bietjie bekommerd oor die conditioning? Ek meen, dis nou al 'n jaar wat die ouens nie gespeel het nie.
Ja, kyk, wat ons nou net afgelope tyd besluit het, ons gaan net die ouens net op die veld kry om te begin hardloop, en ek dink dis die fiksheid gedeelte. Dit gaan nie, ons kan nie nou regtig gaan dink in kondisionering van Germany, en ons het 'n program vir hulle gegee, en jy kan sien baie van die ouens het hierdie tydperk regtig gewerk daarin, en daar's baie ouens wat 'n bietjie geslek en 'n bietjie van 'n magie gekry het, maar dis daarom gou wat ons dit kan afskud, verseker. Graham Bench gaan vir hulle roer as hy terugkom weer in Suid-Afrika.
Ja nee, julle het natuurlik een van die top conditioning afrigters daar, so Graham Bench. Ek glo hy's op die oomblik in Rusland. So
Yes. Ja, hy land daarom op Vrydag, so dan gaan die dinge gebeur.
Ja, ons gaan natuurlik vir hom moet wag om eers sy isolation uit te sort nadat hy van Rusland af terugkom, maar dan is hy daarso by julle. Ek meen, Koos, vertel ons bietjie van die oefening self. Ek meen, ons weet op die oomblik is dit 'n kwessie van die ouens moet in 'n geïsoleerde manier oefen. Hoe was daai nou gisteraand? Ek weet die ouens moet vorms invul, en daar's 'n spuitery en allerlei dinge soos daai. Is dit moeilik?
Ja, dit is moeilik. Dis 'n aanpassing vir die ouens, definitief. Elke ou wil mekaar nog lekker high five en jy weet mekaar lanklaas gesien het, maar dis ongekeer teen die protokol. So ons het verskillende stasies ontwikkel waar in kleiner groepe kan wees, dat daar nie soveel in groepe kan wees, en dan obviously moet dit gesanitiseer word elke keer. So dis 'n hele lang proses, en dit neem tyd. So dit is een van die faktore, dit breek 'n bietjie die intensiteit van oefeninge, moet ek sê, as gevolg van wat jy moet stop, start, sanitize, stop, start. So dit is een van die protokolle wat nog moeilik maak vir ons.
Is dit ook ek neem aan dis ook maar ietsie van een van die dinge wat die spelers nou moet aanpas, is jy moet bietjie dink voordat jy oefening toe kom, jy moet vir jouself meer tyd gee, want dis nie net 'n kwessie van jy kan in jou kar klim en jou boots aansit en hardloop nie, jy moet verstaan dat daar's 'n bietjie admin wat gedoen moet word voordat jy op die
Ja, presies. So daar's 'n ingang area wat net een kan by ons kan inkom. En as jy daar kan kom, staan ons nou die kolle van 1.5 met mekaar uit en dan moet hulle eers gesanitiseer word. Dit moet die temperatuur moet gemeet word en dan moet hulle die vorms invul. So dit is 'n hele lang proses. So die ouens moet weet hulle moet ten minste nie net betyds wees om op die veld te draf nie, maar ten minste 'n paar minute voor die tyd te kan wees sodat die oefening kan begin.
En hoe is die gees daarso? Koos, ek weet jy sê die ouens het 'n bietjie golf gespeel, maar ek meen rugby gees is 'n ander storie.
Yes, ek sê vir jou die gees is ongelooflik. Gisteraand was eintlik die ouens was so opgewonde geweest om net weer terug te kan wees op die veld en mekaar te kan sien en dit was regtig great geweest. Was 'n ek dink ons kan nie wag eintlik met hierdie jaar te kan begin en te kan begin speel nie. Dit is die groot ding.
4 weke van conditioning. Het die ouens nou programme wat hulle moet opwerk? Hoeveel keer 'n week gaan julle oefen?
So in die begin het ons eerste ding, ons sal net 2 keer 'n week oefen. So as ons meer clarifying kan kry van die WPI nie wanneer die wedstryd kan begin, dan sal dit meer ontwikkel na 3 keer 'n week toe. Maar hulle het nog steeds 'n program wat hulle reeds gekry het van Desember af. Elke dag 'n program van gym sessie, hoe ver moet hulle draf, wat hulle als moet doen, hoeveel hulle rides moet invul en hulle moet dit elke keer net monitor en dit vir my aanstuur en te kan kyk waar hulle presies is. So dis maar die doel.
Koos, ons los hom daarso. Dis great om te hoor dat julle terug op die veld is, dat die spelers se gees lekker is en ons sien uit om baie video's en pictures en stories te vertel van hoe Halderberg terug is.
Ja nee, verseker. Baie dankie vir julle JP en kom ons hoop hierdie jaar begin met 'n goeie noot.
Ja, en good luck met al daai borge wat daarso by julle kom deurklop. Ons sien uit om bietjie te brag oor die feit dat julle baie borge het.
Dankie man. Lekker dag vir julle hoor.
Thanks Koos. Koos Eksteen, of course, head coach at Halderberg Rugby Football Club. Great to see that they're back on the park. Great to see that the clubs are training. And of course doing that according to all of those health and safety protocols, and that really is great. It's so great for the spirit of our club rugby players as they now get to see each other again and just enjoy the gees. Folks, as you know, of course, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy is on board with Cape Rugby TV, and on a weekly basis, we do a public review. These are, of course, the reviews that have come in from you, the public, that have been to MChem 24-hour Pharmacy, and where you've had an opportunity to interact and engage with MChem, either on Facebook or on Google, and leave your public comments, to leave your reviews. Now, this week's public review comes in from Bionita van Wyk. And she gives MChem, again, a 5-star rating. And she says, the ladies at reception, as well as the nurse, was helpful and super friendly. There's a big pharmacy, a coffee shop, and a section to buy health products. I am new to Cape Town and happy to have found this awesome clinic. That's fantastic stuff. That's Bionita van Wyk, who gives MChem 24-hour Pharmacy a 5-star rating. Now, folks, every staff member at MChem is, of course, there to help you. They are geared to help you with all of your pharmaceutical requirements from the minute that you park to the minute that you leave. MChem staff there to help you with whatever you need, whenever you need it. MChem 24-hour Pharmacy always open and there to help you 24 hours a day, every day. And in fact, I was there last week where it was, again, a fantastic experience. Managed to find easy parking in the free parking outside and went inside and, of course, sanitized and went upstairs and up to the coffee shop, as I like to do, as you know that I like to do. And I must say, from the time that I arrived in the parking lot through the sanitization station and to the time that I went upstairs, I think there must have been at least 3 staff members who walked up to me and asked if they could help me. Always fantastic service at MChem. Absolutely love it. Folks, we're going to take an ad break, and when we come back from a break, we'll carry on talking about what's happening in the world of club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, everybody. Well, as you know, of course, we carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. And, well, as you would have heard now, for the past 4 segments that we've done, the big news is, of course, that SA Rugby last week announced that there is a return to training for many of the amateur sides. And, of course, that comes with a set of regulations. It's a slow process, but slowly what we are seeing is that the clubs are allowed to train. And of course, they can only do so under authority, under regulation from Western Province Rugby. And so, of course, we've got to get the manager for Club Rugby at Western Province Rugby on the line with us. And I've got a sneaky feeling that this might even be the first time that we've got him on the show this year. Faisal Feltman. Faisal, great to have you back on the line. How are you?
No, good evening, JP. Good evening, listeners. It's great to be back. Yeah, it's first time for the year. Yeah, so it's actually good to be out there and again, you know, out in the public again.
Yeah, Faisal, as I say, I think this is the first time we've spoken to you this year. We're still waiting for Mr. Jones, Danny Jones, to jump on the show with us. We're not quite sure when that's going to be. When we did the show last week, we in fact had some special requests for him to join us. But it's good to see you again. You look healthy, and obviously you guys have got a whole new breath of fresh air blowing in the last few days.
No, definitely, James. I think from a club side and from my side as well, it's good to be back knowing that we can get out there, the clubs can get out there, even though, you know, it's a phased approach. At least it's something, at least the clubs are active. I had a look at some of the clubs on Facebook, and the excitement and the joy, I think, of just getting out and running on the fields and having a breath of fresh air. It's good to see. Yeah, so it's awesome. And hopefully soon, you know, the guys will be out there and start playing rugby again.
But Faisal, let's just talk a little bit about behind the scenes. I mean, of course, SA Rugby makes an announcement, and Western Province Rugby put the wheels in motion. But for the weeks before that, behind the scenes, there's a lot of activity. I mean, the public don't know this. The public don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But behind the scenes, the information that I'm getting is that you guys are completely swamped with trying to make sure that you're actually ready to be able to go back to training.
No, definitely, JP. It's not, you know, I had a lot of people calling, and, you know, once the announcement was made to say, oh, we can start training again. But there's a lot more to it behind the scenes in terms of what we've been busy with. And I think from our side, you know, it's about compliance more than anything else. It's about player safety in terms of the community, players, you know, supporters. It's trying to make sure that we go back, and it's not a rushed approach where we're going to start training. As I said earlier on, it's a phased approach in terms of how we're going to go about it. So the key thing is that from the club perspective, everybody's gone through their workshops, they've had the training, they have an understanding in terms of what's required, they've appointed a compliance officer. So a lot of the clubs are ensuring that, you know, they conform to government regulation and policy in terms of what needs to be in place. And the one thing, you know, from a club perspective and from our side, it's always about the players' safety and making sure that the guys are comfortable to go back to training. So, you know, we are monitoring, we are checking, we're trying to make sure from our side, you know, in terms of education more than anything else, we're having workshops where we are having discussions. And I think the key thing is, yeah, we're also learning as we go along. You know, regulations change, so we adapt and we try and conform in terms of what works and, you know, what's best for us. We've been engaging with the city as well with regards to facilities, and also trying to ensure that there's a partnership, you know, from the club side, from our side, and the city side, in trying to make sure that, you know, we go back and all, you know, the necessary, you know, regulations and policies and stuff is in place. So yeah.
One of the let's just go through some of the kind of activities that you guys have already planned on. I believe that this coming Monday, you have in fact got a workshop on COVID readiness.
No, definitely. I think it's again to do with feedback, JP. You know, what works at certain clubs, how they manage, how they cope, what they're doing. It's a type of engagement that we will have on a regular basis. So, you know, we're not throwing anybody out there in the deep end. We are basically taking them by the hand and trying to make sure that from a club perspective, all the necessary policies and regulations in place. From our side, you know, we're looking at the, you know, return to conditioning, because people have also asked the question about, you know, when do we start playing? It's not going to be a matter of, once you finish the 4 weeks, we're now going to start playing. It's going to be a matter of assessing the current situation, where we are, government regulation in terms of what's happening. So we adapt accordingly, and we try and monitor and see how we get back. So number one key thing is always about player safety and welfare more than anything else.
Faisal, the other focus, of course, following from last year, is women's rugby. We understand as well that slowly those wheels are starting to turn now.
No, definitely, James. I think the key focus is World Cup. With Stanley, in terms of preparation and planning for the World Cup with the ladies, I think we're quite excited. It's the first where we're having a double header for the IPL, the provincial competition. So with the clubs and together with the clubs, we're trying to revive and trying to make sure that, the players out there understand and know that, rugby is happening. We might not be on the field, but there's a lot of activities and stuff that's happening. So from a ladies' side, we've now started training. We're also looking at the conditioning, not training as people know it. It's non-contact. It's got more to do with conditioning and, phasing the 4-week approach in terms of, before we actually start training.
And then on the referee side, we see you're continuing that. I mean, I'm sort of going through the string of activities in the different departments, but of course there's an encouragement that continues for clubs to get their members enrolled in the referees course, starting with the box smart courses.
Definitely, James. Again, with COVID, we don't know what's happened. We don't know what we have. And I think the key for us is just trying to make sure that, we grow that, the base. And I think from a referee's perspective, we want to make sure, guys that have stopped playing, there's a lot of people have indicated, they've hung up their boots. We want them to have, that option whereby they can take up a number of things, whether it's coaching, whether it's refereeing. So the focus for us and the referees as well will be, number one is on the, having the referees courses. But again, it's also the engagement with our referees that we want to start engaging on a monthly, or weekly basis in terms of having online. I think the one thing with COVID that we've learned is that, we don't need to come into a space. We can do it online. We can communicate with our clubs, via, online, the technology and that. So that's one thing that we're looking forward to doing. I think from our side, we've had meetings with our clubs. And the one key thing is that we will have regular workshops, whether it's on refereeing or coaching or administration. So that is something that's...
I was kind of heading in that direction now, because you've had so much success in 2020 with the digital integration, where you've really introduced that component of engaging with clubs on a digital level with multiple things, including the successful media marketing and sponsorship workshops that you were guys doing at Western Province. Is it your plan for 2021 to do more online education?
No, definitely. I think we've got to embrace technology. And I think, with the workshops we found, we've had 100 applicants and people that have attended that, the online workshop, the marketing media. So the idea is to move towards online. I think the key thing is our workshops that we're going to have are going to be quite short, an hour, 45 minutes. People log in, we have discussions, we have the workshops, and then we're done. There's no, coming in and your time is taken, having long meetings and discussions and that. So we are moving more towards that direction. We're giving the clubs options in terms of, from a weekly basis, there's a number of things that they can choose or, to be part of or be part of that discussion.
And of course, now you've also released the dates for coaching courses, which includes the World Rugby Levels 1, Strength and Conditioning, Sevens coaching. So your education department wheels are also starting to turn now.
No, definitely. I think last year we started. I think again it's a phased approach. We're monitoring in terms of regulation. Again, it's the safety of the applicants and that's key. But we want to start rolling it out depending on the demand. From the clubs and the public. We're going to be having more courses, and at least we are making a start. I think we're slowly but surely moving, towards that normality in terms of, getting back to having our coaching education, the necessary COVID regulations in terms of what needs to be in place. We're trying to ensure that, there's strict protocols and that is so, the safety of the applicants and stuff is always a major priority, from our side. So yeah, from education department, it's good to see that, we again got the green light to go ahead.
Faisal Feltman, Western Province Club Rugby, we leave it at that. We'll, of course, I hope to catch up with you soon. It's exciting to see the players back on the park. Everybody's talking about the fact that they are happy to be putting their boots on again, and we're thrilled to see Club Rugby wheels turning.
No, definitely. I think from our side, it's great to be back. It's long overdue. And hopefully, again, if we follow our protocols and in terms of what's required, we can continue, we can get through it. I think it's just our mindset, and, from a club side and from the player side, it's attitude and, understanding that we have a virus, but it's how we manage it, and, together we can get through it, and we're looking forward, and hopefully we can get out on the park and start playing again soon. So thanks, James.
There we go, folks. Faisal Feltman, of course, General Manager for Western Province Club Rugby. And wow, there he just wrapped it up for you in terms of explaining how a lot of the things, although we will be exploring this a lot in the future about the dynamics of COVID, because even though we have got the return to training go ahead now, and even though it is happening under all of these strict conditions, and we know that the clubs have all been, that have returned at least, have been certified by Western Province Rugby, we will continue to talk about COVID education. It is absolutely vital that we keep playing our part. And remember, the important things that you have to remember there is social distancing, wash your hands regularly, and always wear a mask. As I said, always wear a mask. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Welcome back. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.